from rags to riches. The shocking truth behind how a poor boy built Mercedes-Benz at just 18. In a small, dusty corner of Stuttgart, where dreams had a habit of dying before they ever took flight, a boy named Karl stood barefoot on the uneven ground. His hands were calloused, worn from years of toil, yet they clutched a crumpled piece of paper, a blueprint that would change everything. This wasn't just any blueprint. It was a vision that would lead to the creation of Mercedes-Benz. But how could this ragged boy, from a family that struggled to put food on the table, even think of such a grand endeavor? Every glance at that paper sent a shiver of excitement through him, and a wave of doubt. In his world, dreams were luxury cars, too far out of reach. But there, under the flickering glow of a lonely street lamp, something sparked in him, a desire so fierce, it almost felt like a physical blow to his chest. The whispers of the shadows around him started turning into voices, doubts mingling with laughter as if the dark was mocking him. He sensed it, a palpable tension in the air. Could he actually make it happen? The idea felt both exhilarating and terrifying as the night deepened. Eerie silence wrapped around him like a suffocating blanket. The occasional rustle of leaves was suddenly the loudest sound ever. It felt like the world held its breath, waiting to see if Karl would step beyond the shadows or retreat into the safety of anonymity. Then, there it was, a glimmer of hope. An old, discarded engine lying nearby. Its rusty bolts and broken parts seemed to whisper secrets. He could be the one to resurrect it. A cold chill crept down his spine. This was just the first step, but the path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The whispers grew louder as dawn approached. No turning back now. Karl knelt beside the engine, his heart racing. He could almost feel the weight of history pressing down, the expectations of the world on his young shoulders. What if he failed? What if silence swallowed his ambition whole? But then again, what if he didn't? What if this was the spark that ignited a legacy? A flicker of determination ignited in his chest. He would dissect that engine, understand every part and piece until it sang with life once more. But in the distance, between the shadows of hope and the risks of despair, an unseen danger lurked, one that threatened to crush every dream sown into his heart before it ever had a chance to soar. Karl's hands trembled as they brushed over the cold metal pieces of the forgotten engine. Each rusted part held a story, a promise of potential. He took a deep breath, steeling himself against the rising tide of anxiety that threatened to drown him. The sun began to peek through the horizon, casting a golden glow on the silhouette of the engine. This was his canvas, a blank slate where he could paint his dreams. But with excitement came fear. Doubt gnawed at him. What if I don't know enough? He whispered to the wind. Even as he questioned himself, a fire ignited within him. Rising to his feet, he scanned the area, his mind racing through the mechanical knowledge he had absorbed over the years. He knew he needed tools, a workshop, a space to breathe life into this forgotten engine. But in his world, everything that seemed essential, a garage, an expert to mentor him, was just another fantasy. A familiar voice cut through the morning air. Karl, where are you? It was his mother, her worry evident even from a distance. He quickly stuffed the blueprint into his tattered shirt, hiding it from prying eyes. She couldn't know. Not yet. Not until he had something more than just dreams. With a heavy heart, he turned toward the sound of her footsteps. I'm here, Mother, he called, forcing a smile. She emerged from the shadows, her face a mix of fatigue and concern. Life had worn her down, and each line on her brow told a story of sacrifice. She squinted at him, sensing something unusual in his demeanor. What are you doing up so early? You should be resting, she advised, scolding lightly but with warmth. Carl's stomach twisted. I was just thinking he couldn't reveal his ambitions. Not now. About the future. Her gaze softened. The future is full of uncertainty, dear. We must focus on today. As they walked home together, the weight of unspoken words hung between them. Carl's heart beat furiously against his ribs. But shadows were not the only thing lingering behind him. The broken engine was more than just a project, it was a beacon of change. It would symbolize hope, not only for him but for his family, too. If he could succeed, perhaps their lives could shift, like the gears in a well-tuned machine. Days merged into nights as he consumed every moment he could spare to work on the engine, buried in knowledge and ambition. The sun rose and fell, while each bolt unscrewed and reattached became a heartbeat closer to real success. His secret kept growing, but so did the tension. The whispers in the dark, those mocking shadows, transformed. They weren't just voices now. They were threats, reminders of doubt that crept closer as he dared to dream. Then one evening, as he rummaged through an old toolbox he had found in the attic, his fingers brushed against something cool and metallic. He pulled it out. A shiny, gleaming key rested in his palm, its origins unknown, but its implications vast. Who had it belonged to? What doors could this key open? Carl's mind raced. It wasn't just a key, it was the promise of opportunity. But who knew where it could lead? What secrets lurked beyond its potential? He felt that familiar chill creeping back down his spine, intertwining excitement and fear once more as he stared at the key. The shadows deepened. Every creak of the floorboards above him seemed to echo a warning. What if it opened more than just doors? What if it unlocked something dark? The answers hung tantalizingly just beyond reach, the air thick with suspense. What would he find when he turned that key? Carl's heart raced as he shifted the key in his palm, feeling the weight of its potential. The air around him seemed to thicken, wrapping him in a bubble of anxiety and anticipation. He glanced at the engine, a hulking mass of metal that had absorbed dust and neglect over the years. Could this key unlock the very thing he was trying to breathe life into? But where would he start? There were no locks in sight, no obvious doors waiting to be opened. His breath quickened as he thought of all the possibilities. He turned the key over, wondering if it was just a tool of fate, leading him into the unknown. Suddenly, the scratching of nails against wood made him jump. The sound came from upstairs, where his mother had retreated. Was it just the wind, or something more sinister? He swallowed hard, trying to ignore the rising dread in his chest. Glancing back at the key, he felt a battle within himself. Was this the chance he had longed for? Or was he about to unlock a Pandora's box that he couldn't handle? He made a decision. He had to find out. Ignoring the shadows clinging to the corners of the room, he tiptoed up the stairs, each creak amplifying the tension in his gut. He could already hear his mother's anxious whispers. What if she found out his secret? What if she saw the key? She'd worry. Maybe she'd try to convince him to abandon his wild dreams, to stay grounded, live a safe life. As he reached the top, the whispers grew louder. It was a monologue, her voice trembling with emotion. I don't want to lose you, Carl, I can't bear to lose you. His heart sank. She was afraid. Was she worried because of the risks he was willing to take? Or was it something else entirely? Pressing his back against the wall, he eased closer to the door. He had to know what she was talking about. The shadows in the hallway seemed to stretch and distort. The dim light flickered like it had a mind of its own, feeding his growing fear. Suddenly, the door creaked open slightly. Carl froze, the key squeezed tightly between his fingers. Would it even matter if he turned it? His desires clashed against the harsh reality of his mother's emotions. What if he wasn't ready for what lay beyond? Just as he thought about retreating, a low growl echoed from beyond the door. His instincts screamed at him, the shadows morphed into something palpable. A figure loomed just out of view, skittering close to the floor. His stomach churned. Was it truly just an animal? Or was his imagination igniting the room with nightmares? Panic surged as he pressed his ear against the door. Help me, his mother's voice trembled. Please, Pleased with the weight of uncertainty bearing down on him, Carl felt himself taking a shaky breath, one lingering step forward to reach the handle. Should he pry open this new realm, or leave it untouched for now? The decision was his alone to make. The whispers escalated, an invisible tide swirling around him, urging him to decide. Would he dive into the chaos, or turn back to safety? The key felt heavy, burdened with the gravity of choices unmade. What danger awaited him beyond that door? And more importantly, was he ready to find out? Carl's fingers trembled as he reached for the door handle, his heart pounding in rhythm with the chaos swirling in his mind. What lay behind that creaky wooden frame? The low growl grew louder, morphed into something like a snarl, a sound that crawled under his skin, sending chills racing down his spine. Part of him wanted to recoil, to retreat back down the stairs into the safety of the familiar. But that plea for help from his mother echoing, desperate, anchored him. He turned the handle, every clink of the metal resonating through him like a tolling bell. The door swung open with a reluctant groan, creaking like it hadn't been disturbed in years. Darkness spilled from the room like an ink blot, swallowing the hallway. He stepped inside, the thud of his heart the only sound against the eerie silence. "Mom?" His voice trembled, thin and unsure. Shadows danced across the walls, shifting with every flicker of the lone bulb above, barely holding onto its light. The corners of the room were shrouded in darkness, concealing whatever danger lurked within. Then she appeared. His mother stood in the far corner, wrapped in a quilt, her tear-streaked face lit momentarily by the bulbous flicker. But there was something wrong. Her eyes were wide, darting from side to side like a cornered animal. "Get back," she shouted, her voice breaking as she pressed her back against the wall. Carl's throat tightened. "What is it?" he asked, taking a hesitant step forward. Before she could answer, a dark shape lunged from the shadows, darting past him with a speed that seemed to defy logic. He stumbled back, nearly losing hold of the key. It zipped toward a broken window and then disappeared into the night. Breathless and shocked, he turned back to his mother. She seemed smaller now, as if the fear had drained the life from her. "I told you not to come up here," she cried, her voice a mix of anger and fear. "You shouldn't have seen this. What was that? What are you hiding?" She opened her mouth to respond, but the snarl erupted again, this time closer, its source unknown. A palpable tension filled the air, thick enough to choke on. The fear on her face morphed into something more desperate. "You need to leave. Now." "Leave? No. I want to understand." He moved closer to her, the key clutched tightly in his palm, feeling its cold metal bite into his skin. It felt wrong to turn away now when she needed him. "Please, Carl, it's not just an animal. This place hasn't been right. Whatever is up here, whatever you've stumbled into, it's a curse, our curse." His mind raced. A curse? The shadows around them seemed to congeal, writhing in agitation. Memory after memory flashed before him, his father's cautionary tales, the whispers at school of things that went bump in the night. "What do you mean?" But before he could hear the answer, the growl intensified, a cacophony that seemed to shake the room. The walls compressed, closing in on him, leaving him feeling isolated, trapped. In a split second, she lunged for him, grabbing his wrist, her grip tight. "Carl, the key. It's not just a key. You don't know what it opens." His breath hitched. The fabric of his reality was fraying, and suddenly everything he thought he knew seemed fragile. The engine downstairs, the key, was it really about unlocking freedom, or unleashing something darker? Just then, the growl turned into a roar, shaking the very floor beneath them. "Mom!" he shouted, panic surging through his veins. She tightened her grip, her eyes reflecting fear and something unidentifiable. "You must choose, Carl, before it's too late." As the shadows enveloped them, Carl realized that his decision could unleash nightmares, ones that would either save them or doom them both. With the weight of his mother's warning crashing down on him, the space around him felt electric, charged with the terrible power of the unknown. Would he dare to turn the key and risk unlocking the peril that lay hidden? What truly awaited him beyond the fragile barrier of that door? The roar reverberated, drowning out Carl's thoughts. He felt the urgency pulse in his chest like a ticking clock, every second winding tighter around him and his mother. Her grip was relentless, panic visible in her wide eyes that darted toward the door, the shadows now swirling like a storm. I can't just leave you," he stammered, adrenaline sharpening his determination. His mind battled with the instinct to run, to escape the terror unfolding before him. But the love for his mother was a tether, pulling him back even as the growling grew into an unholy symphony, each note striking a cold dread deep in his core. "Trust me, Carl." She stepped back, toward the wall as if it could offer sanctuary. "You don't know what's at stake here. If that thing gets out, it'll be more than just our lives on the line." "What thing?" He was shouting now, the noise echoing hollowly in the confined space. The key in his palm felt heavier, as if filled with secrets he had no hope of grasping. Suddenly, the shadows twitched, shape-shifting as another dark form slithered closer, emerging from the depths like a nightmare made flesh. Carl's breath caught, fear gripping his heart in a vice as he recognized the twisted silhouette. It was no animal. It was like nothing he'd ever seen. An amalgamation of shadows, with piercing eyes that glowed like molten gold, reflecting the deepest malice. "Carl!" His mother screamed, breaking the spell of terror. "The key. You have to make a choice. Use it before it uses you." The creature snarled again, and the sound ripped through the air like a blade, lacerating Carl's resolve. No, it couldn't end like this. He refused to accept the nightmare. He had to break free from its grasp. It was as if the walls themselves were taunting him, leaning in, whispering the unspeakable horrors that lived within. With a surge of courage, he wrenched his wrist from his mother's grasp. "If you want to tell me what's going on, I'll figure it out myself." He turned, feeling the cold metal of the key sear into his flesh as he took a step toward the obscured doorway. The hungry eyes in the shadow watched him, and the growling morphed into a cacophony of whispers, wrapping around him like a slithering vine, urging him to surrender. The whispers spoke of power, of ancient secrets hidden behind the door, yet they dripped with menace. But beneath the weight of fear lay something else, a flicker of hope, a wild possibility that pushed him forward. He thrust the key toward the door, its jagged edges glimmering in the feeble light. As he inserted it into the rusted lock, he felt something shift in the air, a thickening of the atmosphere. The snarl rose again, more insistent, more violent, wrapped around him threateningly. "Stop!" his mother yelled, desperation exploding in her tone. "You don't understand what that will unleash." The lock clicked ominously, and as he turned the key, he felt a rush intense and terrifying as the door creaked open, revealing a swirling vortex of darkness beyond. Carl froze, the edges of his vision fading to black, consciousness swimming as he tasted the weight of the world rest upon his shoulders. And then, the growl morphed into an unnatural howl, shaking the very foundation around him. "Don't!" his mother cried out, but it was too late. The key turned, and the shadows that had once been mere whispers now clawed their way into reality. What lurked inside that swirling abyss? Would it consume them both? Or could it also hold the key to their salvation? The door creaked wide, revealing a swirling abyss that seemed to pulse with chaotic energy. Carl took a hesitant step forward, his heart racing as the shadows writhed like living ink. It was as if the very darkness was beckoning to him, promising answers laced with danger. "Carl, don't!" His mother's voice cut through the thick air, frayed and desperate. She reached out, but her hands continued to tremble, anchored by fear. The snarling from the void intensified. It churned in Carl's chest, igniting his instincts fight or flee. But what awaited behind that door? He squinted into the dark, searching for clarity among the swirling obscurity. Moments dragged like hours, his breath stuttering in anticipation. Then something stirred within the shadows. At first, it was a flash, a glint that looked like a shard of glass, fracturing the darkness. A heartbeat later, the form of a creature stepped into the dim light spilling from the doorway. It was a monster like none he had ever seen. Flesh had turned to soot, eyes filled with a mix of fear and hunger, and a breath that seemed to shatter sound. Carl's pulse quickened. The shadows were no longer mere wisps. They were alive, tangible, and full of dread. The creature advanced slowly, every inch crawling with malice as it scrutinized him, its golden eyes boring into his soul. Was this thing what had been unleashed from his decision? The monster bore down, a twisted embodiment of terror, threatening to engulf him entirely. No, he breathed, paralyzed by panic. But the darkness seemed to sense his hesitation and pressed closer, echoing with a chorus of growls and fanged whispers. Memories flooded his mind, the tales his mother had shared, the legends of creatures sealed away, monsters born from shadows. "Mom, what is it?" His voice broke, desperation replacing bravado. "What did I just release? That's what I was trying to warn you about." She stepped closer, her figure silhouetted against the swirling dark. "You let it out, Carl. It's a wraith. It thrives on fear and chaos. If it gets out of this place," the creature lunged, its maw opening wide and exhaling a noxious breath that sent Carl reeling back. He stumbled but caught himself, eyes wide, staring into the abyss of its open mouth. In that glimmer of hesitation, a flicker of understanding ignited within him. The key. It had not just unlocked the door. It had unlocked something within him. "Mother, the key," he shouted, his mind racing. Can it also take the wraith back? Could, if you're strong enough." She was backing away, swept up in the creature's rising fury. But determination was now igniting in Carl's veins. "Breathe." He tightened his grip on the key, its jagged edges biting into his palm, and stepped back toward the swirling darkness. The growls transformed into hissing, each sound pulling at him, dragging regret and fear. But amid the chaos, another emotion surged. Clarity. Suddenly, he could see it, the weak point of the wraith. It thrived on the bond of fear it shared with its prey. With every heartbeat, an understanding flickered brighter. The wraith was only as powerful as he allowed it to be. In an instant, he raised the key, letting its power awaken within him. Heart pounding, he stepped forward again, this time with conviction. "You will not control me," he declared, voice steady with newfound strength. The creature hissed, the shadows recoiling at the force of his command, a flicker of recognition sparking in its eyes. For the first time, Carl felt in control. "Shut the door," his mother cried, but he shook his head. "I'm not just shutting it. I'm sending it back." With a voice strong and unwavering, he shouted, "You belong in the dark." As he thrust the key towards the creature, light poured from it, encasing him in radiant energy that cut through the gloom. The wraith squirmed, its screams piercing the air as it fought against the incursion of light. Would Carl succeed in banishing the darkness? Or would the shadows consume him entirely? The force of light surged toward the wraith, shattering the dark veil that had cocooned the creature. Carl could feel the energy coursing through him like an electric current, fierce and unyielding. His heart raced, each beat a drum echoing through the chilling silence. The wraith wriggled, snarling in fury, its golden eyes wide with disbelief. It had not expected to be challenged. The shadows that flowed with it screamed, full of rage and desperation, lashing out as if to drag Carl back into their cold embrace. Carl's mom cried out, her fear palpable, but he couldn't let it overwhelm him. He felt a sick twist in his stomach, the fear clawing at him, a reminder of the bond they shared. With each heartbeat, he pushed closer to the threshold of the dark, solidifying his resolve. "You are a wraith of my fear," he shouted, the words pouring out like molten fire. "But I have strength in my anger, my courage." Light exploded from the key, engulfing him. The brilliance sliced through the wraith's form, burning away the darkness around it. Shadows disintegrated into nothingness, evaporating like steam under a relentless sun. For a fleeting moment, Carl saw the creature in all its misery, lost, lonely, born from the depths of despair. Despite the chaos, he felt a strange sympathy for it. "You are not invincible," he bellowed. "I refuse to be your pawn." Just then, a piercing scream emanated from the creature, a sound that could chill the warmest of hearts. The wraith, in its desperation, lunged toward him, fangs bared. But Carl was resolute, lifting the key higher. The beam of light expanded, reflecting back the creature's own torment. "Go back to where you belong," Carl shouted, the power of the key pulsating beneath his grip. With one decisive thrust, he stabbed it forward, aiming directly at the wraith. The impact of light struck the creature square in the chest. The wraith twisted and contorted, its body writhing as if caught in a tempest. The combination of strength and clarity pushed it back, sending it tumbling through the doorway it had once emerged from. The air shimmered, blindingly bright, casting away the encroaching shadows. But Carl could feel it. A sickening pull, as if the wraith were latching onto his very soul, dragging him along into the abyss with it. Panic shot through him, vast and overbearing. "No," he gasped, fighting against the tether that gripped him tight. "Carl," his mother screamed, her eyes wide with terror. In the middle of the chaos, a realization sparked within him. The bond wasn't just fear. It was also his unwavering will, drawing on every ounce of strength, every moment of hope he had left. He screamed, "You don't own me. I am more than your fear." With a final surge of power, he invoked the light one last time. He felt the energy bursting forth in waves, washing over him like a tide against jagged rocks. The wraith let out a harrowing cry, its form breaking apart into shadows that screamed back into the dark void. And just like that, it was gone. Carl stumbled back, breathless, the pulse of energy fading. He stood at the threshold, heart hammering in his chest, feeling the weight of silence. Did he truly banish it? Would the shadows remain silent? His mother rushed to his side, eyes shimmering with tears of relief and disbelief. "You did it, Carl. You sent it back." But deep inside him, unease gnawed like a hungry beast. Was it truly gone? Or did he merely release it into another realm, waiting for the right moment to strike again? The room felt heavy, a tightness pressing down on him. With a lingering dread, he turned as the air thickened, dark tendrils creeping back out from the sides of the door once more. The night was far from over, and the shadows were stirring again. What had he truly awakened? And what other doors lay waiting to be opened? The shadows twisted, thickening like a storm cloud, ready to unleash its fury. Carl's heart raced again, fear flooding his veins as the tendrils crept closer, slithering along the floor like serpents. His mother instinctively grabbed his arm, her grip a mixture of urgency and dread. "What is happening?" she gasped, her voice trembling. "I don't know," Carl replied, his voice strained. The light from the key flickered, dimming in the oppressive darkness. "We sent it back. It shouldn't be here." But as he spoke, he felt the very air shift, a heavy weight pressing down on him, pushing back against the light that had once soared. The remnants of the wraith's fury pulsed like an echo, taunting him with the reality of its return. The door behind them shuddered as if another entity was trying to crawl through it, drawn by the chaos that radiated from Carl's lingering brilliance. Those golden eyes flashed inside the dark, a flicker of fury mixed with a haunting sadness. "Carl, you have to do something," his mother urged, her eyes darting between the door and her son. "You can't let it take over." Not again. Drawing a deep breath, he held tight to the key, straining against the dark pulling at him. "I won't let it. I am stronger than this. I know I can fight it." Yet the shadows whispered promises of power, of untold truths hidden beneath layers of fear. A chilling thought slithered into his mind. What if the wraith held secrets he couldn't even fathom? What if its torment was born from a truth that was somehow tied to him? The door creaked, the darkness eager to spill forth. Carl's pulse quickened, every instinct screaming at him to run. Could fear be a door to something greater? Something he couldn't yet see? But he had learned one vital lesson just moments before. Fear could also blind. Suddenly, the air crackled, and the wraith's ghastly form burst back through the doorway, manifesting more solidly than before. Its features contorted into a grotesque mask of rage while shimmering shadows twisted and writhed around it like a shroud. "We are bound, boy," it hissed, its voice an echoing growl. "You and I. Your fear has called me back." As the realization hit, Carl's stomach tightened. The bond wasn't just a trap. It was a connection, a shared reality that linked their fates. No, he shouted defiantly, channeling every ounce of willpower into the key. I'm not afraid of you anymore. Yet, as he pushed forward, a sudden wave of regret washed over him. Was the wraith truly all darkness? Or was there a flicker of light buried deep within it? In seeking to banish it forever, had he not only denied it existence but also cast aside a part of himself? The wraith lunged, its mouth snapping forward, teeth bared and dripping. Carl stepped back, the light from the key sparking bright but faltering against the encroaching dark. It was a moment of desperation, a raw truth flooding Carl's mind. No, he cried again, but this time the words shifted. Maybe I don't have to fight you. Maybe there's something we can share? In that instant, a cacophony of wails erupted from the shadows, echoing with a pain so profound it shook him to his core. For the first time, he saw not just a monster but a lost soul wailing against its chains. The air thickened with unresolved sorrow. Carl felt the tug of understanding pulling at him, an invitation to embrace what he had tried so hard to reject. Together we can confront this, he shouted, realizing that the line between light and dark wasn't as clear as he once thought. But would the shadows accept his offer? Or would they consume him whole, thriving on the very fear he had tried to vanquish? With that question hanging in the air, the darkness writhed, waiting for the answer. The moment hung in silence, thick and heavy, as if the shadows paused in their relentless advance to hear Carl's desperate plea. The wraith, its eyes glowing like embers in a dying fire, stopped mid-lunge. An eerie stillness enveloped the room, the noise from the outside world fading into oblivion. What do you know of sharing? It hissed, its voice a gravelly whisper wrapped in skepticism, each word curling like smoke. You, a creature of light, wish to understand the dark? You're naive boy. Maybe. Carl took a tentative step forward, the key shining brighter with every inch he moved. Maybe it's not about being light or dark. It's about embracing all of it. His mother, still gripping his arm, quaked beside him, her breath quickening. Carl, don't. This is dangerous. But Carl could see it now, the wraith's fury coiling, intertwined with its pain. It wasn't just an enemy. It was a vessel of anguish, a bearer of truths locked away. Everything inside him screamed to reject it, but another part softened, drawn to the forgotten light hidden beneath the monstrous facade. Tell me your story, he urged, the words stumbling out as he tried to bridge the gap between them. Tell me why you're angry. The wraith hesitated, the shadows around it flickering like candle flames. For the first time, its features softened, revealing contours of a forgotten face where sorrow wrestled with wrath. You think you can understand? You think you can bear this weight? It paused, a weakness piercing through its anger. You think you know pain? Carl swallowed hard. He didn't know its pain, but he felt the ghost of his own past moments of failure, fear, and loss that had shaped his existence. I don't know, but I want to. I want to know. The air crackled again, but this time it felt different. Instead of the suffocation of dread, it buzzed with a spark of something else, hope. Perhaps? The darkness hesitated, swirling back as if considering his offer, its tendrils moving less aggressively. Every light comes from the clash of shadows, the wraith replied, its voice low and filled with a new caution. But can you bear the truth? Can you survive it? I want to try. Carl's resolve reinforced itself, fueled by the desperate need to break the cycle of fear that had haunted him for so long. Suddenly, the walls trembled, and the shadows roared to life. The wraith's form seemed to shift, merging in and out of focus. A rush of wind swept through the room, lifting small debris into the air, as chaos threatened to unravel his brave declaration. No, Carl shouted, holding the key out as if it were a shield, the golden glow pulsing like a heartbeat, driving back the onslaught. You don't have to fight. We can confront this darkness together. In that moment, the wraith drew itself up, the shadows swirling faster, wild and untamed, as if wrestling with an internal tempest. The two forces, fear and hope, crashed against each other. A battle brewing. But the stakes were raised as the truth hung between them. Would they unite? Would Karl's compassion, full of light, push through the suffocating dark? The echoes of ghostly cries reverberated once more. A chorus of anguish that spoke of a past filled with loss and betrayal. And then, just beneath the tumult, a whisper, a promise. Yet another question loomed in the silence. What if the key you wield is more than your light? What if, in your quest to understand, you uncover truths about yourself that you never expected? The shadows shrieked as they writhed around him, the air thick with uncertainty and shocking revelations. As the fabric of reality strained, would Karl open this door? Or would it all shatter into darkness once more? Everything teetered on the edge, and the answer awaited just beyond the threshold. As the storm of shadows swirled around Karl, every instinct screamed at him to flee. But deep down, he recognized the truth. He was no longer a scared boy hiding from his dreams. Instead, he was a young man standing at the precipice, ready to confront the darkness that had haunted him for so long. Together, he murmured, the word, a fragile bridge fusing light and shadow. The wraith's golden eyes flickered with something unrecognizable. Could it be hope? With every word he spoke, it felt like the darkness retreated just a bit, less oppressive, less suffocating. You wish to understand? To be a conduit of empathy? The wraith's voice trembled on the edges of fury and fear. You think you alone can withstand my burden? I don't know what I can withstand, Karl admitted, his breath shaky. But I do know we can't keep going like this. Someone has to break this cycle of pain. There was a heartbeat of silence before the shadows lunged back, seeming to coalesce around Karl. The air felt charged, a bridge of light connecting them. If you seek to share this burden, then you must first understand the depths of despair. The wraith's voice roared, a storm of emotion unraveling. Karl shook his head, gripping the key tighter, feeling its power surge beneath his fingers. Before we can confront it, we have to acknowledge it. I see your pain, I feel our fear. You're more than a nightmare. The shadows quivered, swirling around him with the chilling stabs of broken memories. It was as if the wraith was searching for the sincerity of Karl's heart. Can you truly bear what's within? A rush of adrenaline coursed through him. I don't know, but I want to try. In that moment, Karl stepped forward, the key illuminated by a thin beacon of hope. He felt the weight of every struggle, the stories of sorrow, the burdens of countless souls echoing in his ears. Together we can face what lies buried. We can face it as one. He raised the key, its brilliance flooding the room, casting away the shadows slowly lurking at the edges, revealing flashes of forgotten truths. Suddenly, the wraith's silhouette flickered, the rage subsiding, exposing the fragility beneath. You are brave, boy. But this journey will not be easy. It spoke, its voice no longer a growl but a whisper laced with uncertainty. Nothing worth having is, Karl replied, his determination solidifying. Show me what haunts you. With a sweeping motion, the shadows twisted and opened a path into the heart of the darkness. As he stepped forward, every sinew in his body was on high alert. But there was also a strange calmness, as if he were guided by unseen hands. Memories flooded around him, each one a piece of the wraith's torment. Layers upon layers of sorrow, loss, betrayal. Faces appeared one after another, those who had been missed, lives engulfed in pain. Tears slid down Karl's cheeks as he felt their wails echoing within him. You suffered alone, he whispered, the realization hitting hard. I had no choice. The wraith hissed, but the shadows around it began to soften. I am the darkness within those who forget to remember. Karl held the key out, radiant light flaring as he merged with the echoes of despair swirling around him. We can remember together. We can shed the darkness instead of letting it consume us. Something shifted within the creature, a hesitation that felt like a tremor rippling through the ground. A single tear fell from the wraith's eye, replaced by a flicker of understanding. No one has dared to tread this ground before, because they were afraid. Karl shouted, emboldened by the connection they had formed. We're not just fighting a monster. We're confronting pain that longed to be acknowledged. The shadows began swirling in a chaotic dance, radiating the weight of their shared struggles. Carl pressed on. Embrace it. Feel it. Let us illuminate this darkness with our journey. In that very moment of vulnerability, the wraith roared, but it was no longer a sound of anger, it was a crescendo of release. The dark figure thrashed, each movement revealing layers of agony hidden within its breadth. Carl stepped closer, feeling the pulsing energy around them. We can heal, not just each other but all the broken souls connected to this shadow. Turn your pain into strength. The air thickened with raw emotion, resonating with a shared grief that seemed to stretch across an eternity. The tides of darkness waned, ebbing from the wraith's form as if it were exhaling years of pent-up despair. Light and dark, they are intertwined, the wraith murmured, surrendering to the moment. You've shown me what it means to share this burden. Carl nodded, feeling the shadows pull back like a curtain, revealing warmth and acceptance. Let us find the light at the end together. No more hiding, no more fear. The transformation was profound. Light burst, setting shadows ablaze, illuminating the darkness until it finally surrendered. The wraith shrieked, but not in agony, it was a cry of liberation, splitting into countless shards that spread out like fireflies in the night sky, carrying the remnants of anguish toward healing. As the shadows dissipated into the night, a calm settled over the space, leaving a sense of peace in its wake. Mom? Carl said, his voice quivering with uncertainty. He turned to find her standing at the doorway, her eyes wide and shimmering with tears. She rushed to him, wrapping her arms around him. You did it. You truly did it. Carl felt the weight of 100 fears lift. Together we can face anything. We don't have to live in solitude anymore. Their embrace was filled with warmth, but also a knowing glance that spoke of uncharted territories ahead. The darkness lay silent now, the shadows swept away, but the journey of healing was just beginning, and outwardly, in the heart of Stuttgart, Carl realized that his creation with Mercedes-Benz was more than a dream. It would redefine the future. Not just for him, but for countless souls rekindled by hope. Kids played and laughed again, the sound like the hum of engines revving in the air, each joy echoing back toward the brightness of a new dawn, symbolizing renewal and fresh beginnings. This was no longer just a story of dreams. It was a message of resilience, triumph, and the power of connection. As they both stepped outside, ready to embrace what lay ahead, Carl whispered, "Let us build something beautiful, together." In the light of a new day, shadows would remain ushers of untold stories, but the bonds forged through understanding and bravery would continue to transform fear into hope, forging a legacy that would last. Now more than ever, they understood the importance of that key. It was not simply a key to unlock doors, it was a key to their hearts and the experience that truly freed them all. This was their moment, and with it came the promise of a brighter future, waiting just around the bend. If you've enjoyed the journey with Carl and want more unforgettable stories, you need to subscribe to the channel immediately. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. I want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means the world, and only true fans understand the importance of being part of this incredible journey.